Imagine welcoming an ancient Sumerian into your home. They might look at your cell phone in amazement, be confused by your oven, or perhaps begin praying to your television, thinking its bright, flashy images are a sign from the gods. An ancient Sumerian might be bewildered by just about everything in your 21st century home, except, that is, a handbag. That's right. Ancient Sumerians were more than familiar with handbags, or perhaps objects that modern people perceive as such. Several Sumerian carvings include depictions of handbag-like shaped items. The ancient Sumerians were not the only culture fascinated by handbags. Their neighbours, the Assyrians, also used the symbol. The phenomenon of neighbouring societies depicting the same object might not sound strange. However, the handbag-like carvings can be found in ancient carvings worldwide. From ancient Turkey to the Mesoamericans, the Olmecs and the native Maori of New Zealand, the symbol is omnipresent in their culture and religious art. These ancient societies lived thousands of years and miles apart from each other. So how can they share a symbol or object? Does the mysterious handbag imply a global connection that rivals our interconnected modern world, or is it simply a coincidence that depicts the intelligence of independent, unique cultures? Well, let's find out the origins, uses and meanings of the ancient handbag symbol. We begin our journey in Turkey, at the ruins of the Göbekli Tepe, one of the oldest known Middle Eastern settlements. Built circa the 9th century BC, The handbag symbol appears on the unique Pillar 43, alongside carvings of rabbits and birds, and in at least 2 other instances at the site. Some suspect it's a simple basket, while others believe it represents the cosmos. Of course, as we will come to later, it might have an entirely different purpose. Göbekli Tepe was the home to a Neolithic society, switching from the hunter-gatherer lifestyle to an agricultural, somewhat urban way of life. As with most early civilizations, religion played a key role. Not much is known about the society's beliefs. However, the decorative pillars in their main temple suggest they had unique, complex ideologies. Further to the southeast, the remains of the once glorious kingdom of Assyria can be found, in parts of modern-day Turkey, Syria, Iraq and Iran. Around the 7th century BC, Assyrian societies lived in the Mesopotamian river valley. They were known as highly skillful conquerors and military innovators. To surrounding communities, they were powerful and intimidating people. Well, much like the Sumerians, the Assyrians built thriving city-states. Architectural, economic and, of course, militaristic advancements were vital for their empire. Sadly, much of the knowledge contained in their text was lost during the final sack of Nineveh, where invaders burnt down the entire city, including their great library. The Nineveh library contained thousands of cuneiform scripts in Akkadian as well as Sumerian. Archaeologists managed to piece some of the text together. However, most of the library's valuable information is assumed to be lost. Texts about Assyrian and Sumerian myths and religious beliefs were most likely destroyed. However, numerous carvings featuring mysterious handbags, like the one discovered on the relief in the northwest palace of Nimrud, have stood the test of time. The third example of the handbag symbol is found in ancient Sumer. Similarly to the previous 2 cultures, the Sumerians feature their handbags in their sacred religious art. Like many civilizations, the people of the Middle East were known to share trading routes and engage in wars, which can obviously result in the exchange and influence of their respective cultures, religions, and inventions. The appearance of the handbag in all 3 societies can be considered evidence of the natural mixing of ancient Middle Eastern civilization. This is not only likely but expected. So why have people been fascinated with these handbag shapes for centuries? Circa 2500 BC, across the Atlantic Ocean, in modern-day western Mexico, the Olmecs began creating their empire, eventually becoming the first major civilization to inhabit Mesoamerica. Their inventions, religion, infrastructure, and urban lifestyle became the blueprint for all Mesoamerican societies, which the ones that superseded them, including the Mayans, the Toltecs, and the Aztecs. Keep in mind there are approximately 7,000 years and 7,000 miles of difference between the Olmecs and the Göbekli Tepe society. Yet the same handbag symbol found on Pillar 43 appears in Olmec statues and carvings. The handbag-like shape can be seen at Olmec Monument 19 at La Venta, next to a serpent-like creature representing the god Quetzalcoatl, one of the most popular gods amongst native Mesoamericans for centuries. If you think that's a crazy coincidence, wait until you see the following example. The Maori were the greatest voyagers in the Pacific realm, travelling with advanced sailboats and conquering tropical islands. Circa 1320 they finally settled down in modern-day New Zealand, or as they called it, Aotearoa. In this remote location, virtually inaccessible to most ancient cultures, the native Maori civilization also included a handbag-like shape in their religious carvings, although they call it a basket. Interestingly, a Maori myth tells of a hero who once ascended to the home of the gods and returned to the earth carrying 3 baskets full of wisdom. One wonders if the other bags or baskets we see around the globe contain wisdom of some kind. This string of occurrences certainly raises doubts about almost everything we know or thought we knew about ancient civilizations. The accepted theory for this perplexing anomaly is as follows. The Assyrians, Sumerians, Turks, Olmecs and Maori were all resilient, inventive and commendable civilization who invented bags for relatively simple purposes, all entirely independent of each other. There we go. It's an open and shut case of coincidence. But is it really? Ancient carvings from these cultures are not exactly abundant, so it seems strange that a decent number of those that have survived the ravages of time carry the handbag symbol. This implies that these bags are important objects, not everyday utensils. But if this is not your average bag, what might the bag have been used for? Some researchers believe that the handbags were not actual bags, but communication devices that allowed extraterrestrial beings to connect with their motherships. Another popular theory suggests they were used by time travellers, their aim to set up colonies within ancient civilizations and control the future. Eric van Daniken thinks that the bags were used as gravity devices to keep the ancient astronauts' feet firmly planted on the ground. Others believe that they were frequency resonators that could move large objects, like enormous monoliths, for example. Ancient astronaut theorists feel the bag is a sort of DNA storage device brought to Earth by the Anunnaki to aid in the creation of the human race. Clearly, even alternative researchers are divided on the purpose of the handbags, but they are confident that they connected distant societies in the past and implied shared knowledge and culture. Graham Hancock extensively examines the bags in his 2015 book, Magicians of the Gods. Since they appear to be in the hands of important people like Oannes and Quetzalcoatl, Hancock thinks that they could be some form of technology or a substance that allowed them to communicate with the spirit realm, a kind of food of the gods, if you will, which, once taken, leads to a higher level of consciousness. In the Assyrian carvings, the bags of the Anunnaki gods are said to contain magical or divine dust, so the idea does have some merit. Oannes is interesting because he is what is known as a civilizer god. The ancient Mesopotamians believed Oannes came from the Persian Gulf and taught them everything they needed to become the world's first civilization. According to the ancient Greek writer Berosus, there were 7 civilizer gods. They were known as the Apkallu. Now it gets even more interesting because the Apkallu, or at least some of them, are depicted on the Assyrian wall relief. The very ones we mentioned earlier, they appear as winged humanoid-type creatures. Others also have wings, but are shown with eagle-like heads. Apkallu translate to either wise or sage. Quetzalcoatl, shown with a bag at La Venta, is also referred to as a civilizer god. Were the Apkallu real flesh and blood beings who came from another place and time in a distant past? According to Hancock, these Gnostic missionaries were simply re-educating humanity on the benefits of civilization after the great cataclysm of 11,600 BC, and they went to every corner of the earth to do it. Are they responsible for the bag symbol being spread far and wide? Nowadays, trade and travel routes and technological advancements, such as the internet, help us stay globally connected. But if our civilizations were to disappear today, so would all the traces of our current interconnectedness. Did this happen in the past, perhaps due to a cataclysm? It might have wiped out any trace of how ancient civilizations were connected. More and more evidence is pointing in that direction. In ancient times, the world could have been connected through methods that modern theories do not allow for. Maybe the ancient people had a means of transport, such as ships or flying machines. Ancient flying machines are described in Hindu texts and Sanskrit epics. Hot air balloon type devices have also been linked to the Nazca lines. In the 1970s, Jim Woodman successfully created a hot air balloon and flew gracefully 300 feet above the lines. He did this using only materials that would have been available to the Nazcan people. Ancient maps of the world, perhaps such as the Peri-Reis map, also indicate that the map makers may have had some flying apparatus at their disposal. Perhaps they had large ships capable of travelling vast distances long before previously thought. It has long been suggested that Tiahuanaco is in Bolivia, or was an old shipping dock created more than 15,000 years ago. Of course, until evidence of these modes of transportation is found, they remain more in the realm of speculation rather than fact. There are other theories for how the world might have once been connected, and these involve the power of the mind. The idea may not be as crazy as it sounds. According to Adolphus Peter Elkin, a former professor of anthropology at Sydney University, Australian Aborigines can communicate with each other over vast distances using the power of the mind. He suggests the secret to long-distance mind communication is the uncluttered mind. This theory is interesting because it would leave no traces at all. These ideas may appear far-fetched, but then again, so does the idea that 2 million rocks were floated down the Nile, carved with incredible precision, and then stacked with unparalleled accuracy to create the world's largest pyramid. What are your thoughts on the so-called handbags of the gods? Are there other explanations for this mystery? Are there any other symbols you would like us to talk about? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you'd like to learn more about ancient Mesoamericans or Mesopotamian cultures, feel free to browse our other videos. And as always, thanks so much for watching.